Hi everybody, this is Lady Robin live from the Robin's Nest with another Michael's Moment. Now this is part 2 to the video that I did last week about what I thought was a conspiracy theory with the whole Leaving Neverland controversy. But before we get started, some good news, some really good news from you Michael fans out there. We did it. We finally did it. Leaving Neverland is being taken off the air. HBO was supposed to be showing Leaving Neverland all the way up into September of this year. But because of all the controversy and all of the discrepancies, and even with Oprah distancing herself from the documentary, Leaving Neverland is being taken off the air this week. Now, I gotta admit, there is a tiny part of me that is sad to see it go. I can't help it. It feeds my ego a little bit. But I'm not going to be on HBO anymore. Because it's being taken off, my little clip that's in Leaving Neverland, which was taken without my consent or knowledge or any of that, that is going to be taken off the air, and my little clip with it. So I look at it this way. You know what? It's for the greater good. Anything that's going to help Michael, I'm all for it. So if it means I got to go bye-bye off of HBO, that's fine. But who knows? I may be back on HBO sometime in the future. You never know. Just saying. Just a little egotistical little thought I had. But I digress. The good news is it's being taken off the air this week. So I do know that it's scheduled for, my cable box says that it is scheduled for April 17th, both parts. That will be, as of this video airing, that'll be next Wednesday. It'll be off the air for good. Now, it's also probably because it's not only because of the big discrepancies have been found in the video, especially with the one that James Safechuck made about how he was abused daily on a regular basis in the room in the train station when he was between the ages of I don't know, like 8 and 14 or 10 and 14 or whatever the hell he said. And turns out the train station that he said he was abused at didn't even exist at that time. It wasn't built until about 1993. That would have been about a year or two after the abuse had stopped. And Dan Reed was trying to say that, okay, well, you know, he's going to try and cover his ass. He said, well, okay, well, the time may be off. There's no doubt about that, about when it was constructed, because here's all of these pictures and construction plans and stuff with dates on it and notarized and shit. And so he's going to try and say, well, the dates is confirmed through the documents, but the abuse still happened afterwards, which would have meant that if the abuse did happen in the train station, it would have happened when he was around the ages of, James would have been about maybe 15, 16, or 17 at that particular time, when puberty had really kicked in and Michael wouldn't have been interested at that particular time. So that's what Dan Reed is trying to say. We all know that that's just a crock of shit. We all know that he's just trying to cover his ass. He's trying to protect what he made as a filmmaker. So, of course, he's going to try and backpedal and say, well, this happened and that happened and the other happened. And even though the document said and the abuse continued and yada, 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 at the end of the day, again, he's covering his ass, and we all know that it's nothing but a crock of shit. So, That's all there is about that. And it's just not only that. I mean, that was like the coup de grace that just killed the whole thing. But it's just the fact that there were all these discrepancies, time-wise, with James's mother saying, I was so happy when he died. I was like, oh, good, he can't hurt any more children. We all know that Michael left us in 2009, and James said that he didn't realize that he was abused until he saw Wade Robson on TV back in 2013, and he had told nobody about the abuse. And then again, Dan Reed and, he's got to protect what he made, right? Instead of doing the actual work to fact check everything before you made this debacle, he's going to be like, well, James hinted back in 2005 during the trial that Michael really wasn't a good man. He made a hint to his mother. Bullshit! I said it in my last video. I'm going to say it again in this video. If your child was molested, how could you not know? I said it before in my last video. My mom and my mom adores my sister and myself. We are her world. And anytime we have had any type of problem or any type of worry or any type of confusion, anything that was going on inside of our heads or our hearts or souls, Mommy can pick up on it. She can sense when something is not right. So, I don't understand how you being a mother could not know that if your child was abused, you just was completely in the dark about it. You had no sensibilities, you had no thoughts whatsoever. You just did not know. You were completely in the dark. Now, granted, there are some abuse victims who do really try to hide what has happened, and I empathize with them. I really, really do. But I'm just saying, as a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but knowing that my parent, the way she is adamant about finding any little thing that is troubling us, I just don't understand how you couldn't have any little, not know at all, not even suspect. But that's just me. So, we had all that mess, and we had the thing about Wade talking about, well, I burned a Thriller jacket, and it wasn't the actual Thriller jacket, and I think he gave the Thriller jacket to Julian's, and they have it on record that they have the stuff that he gave from when he was, Michael's friend, and that they sold it, and it was a quiet auction and all that kind of mess. So he ain't burned shit, okay? You know what? I can't even. I did it before. I said it before that I wasn't going to do a debunking video because there's so much stuff that has been debunked about this thing that I can't do a debunking video on it. I would just be repeating everything that everybody else has said. So you know what? I'm just going to stop myself right here and there. And I'm not going to say anything else about debunking. Because you guys can find all that out for yourself. And you probably have found it out already. Because it's everywhere. It's all over the place. So you can find out for yourself about that. But what I want to talk about is more conspiracy theories that I have about all of this. Now, the last time I did my video, I had connected, and there have been other people have connected it also. They've also had kind of the same suspicions that I've had, that all of this is connected with AEG, and that we said that back when Wade made his first complaint, it was right at the time when Catherine, Michael's mother, and his children, Pence, Paris, and Blanket, were suing AEG for the wrongful death of Michael, because they figured that it was AEG who hired Conrad Murray, and that made Conrad Murray and AEG responsible for Michael's death. But they lost the case anyway, and the case was just done. So I had this theory that when Wade came out with this, Now remember, the AEG's lawyer said that things was going to get ugly. And it just so happens that the lawyer also has a wife who also works for Sundance, the same place where this debacle of a picture was shown. And that it was also interesting how there was also a movie, a documentary about Harvey Weinstein that was made for Sundance. And you didn't really hear that much about it. It was just like quietly shown and tucked away and not a lot of fanfare. But everything else was, oh, Michael this, Michael that, and Michael. And here this Michael has been gone from us for almost 10 years. But here we have this fat pig who has been assaulting some of Hollywood female royalty of all ages, sizes, shapes, race, colors, creeds, whatever. This guy is doing all this scumbucket shit, and you're not hearing that much about it from the Sundance crowd. But then you also have his good buddy, Oprah, who did an interview with the so-called victims, Wade and James, in After Leaving Neverland. She is, we all know, a buddy of Harvey Weinstein's. There are pictures of her and him all over the place. And then I also found out that we know that the AEG, that the musicians are with AEG. That's just a given. And that even the Jackson brothers and even Janet is still with AEG. They're on the talent roster. The musicians, we can figure that would be a part of it because money attracts money, and I'm quite sure that they are let's say conglomerate. They have a monopoly on this, in this facet of entertainment. But what I didn't know was that the musical version of The Color Purple was being produced by Oprah Winfrey, and that was also on the AEG talent roster, which makes her a part of AEG as well. And I also found out that Ellen DeGeneres, which I did not know this at all, I just put her name in the search engine, the AEG search engine, just on a lark, and just see what popped up, and there she is. Ellen DeGeneres is also on the AEG talent roster, and I did not know that. I did not know that at all. So all this stuff is connecting back to AEG. So I had this feeling, and there were other people had this feeling as well, that when Wade came out with this, they kind of like blackmailed him into it, and they said, okay, you scratch your back, I'll scratch your back, we'll help you out. And since AEG won the case, now it was their turn to help out Wade with his cases. Now maybe back in the beginning, Wade was just thinking, I don't want to do this, but I'm between a rock and a hard place. I have to do it. But then once I heard from Brandy Jackson, Wade's ex-girlfriend, and from Taj, Michael's nephew, and Brandy is Michael's niece, they both said that Wade is a master manipulator, okay? And that he will lie at the drop of a hat if it will suit him. So now I just had this thought, now maybe, just maybe, in the beginning Wade wasn't down with this, but maybe over time he probably thought, you know what, I'm getting the short end of the stick in all this. I'm not getting what I thought I would get. Michael said I was going to be like the next Spielberg, but it didn't happen. And I thought I'd be getting all this wonderful stuff because I knew Michael, because I was friends of his for so many years. And he did have a pretty decent career as a choreographer until he fucked it up. I mean, look, dude, think about it, okay? You're a choreographer with this great female pop superstar, and she has a famous boyfriend, and they grew up together, and they are, pretty much in love. And then you kind of like get close to her and jump in the sack with her. You didn't think that was going to mess up your career? And then some of the other women that he's been getting with, Brandy spilled the tea. She spilled the tea, y'all. I mean, the tea was everywhere. It was Snapple, it was Arizona, it was Lipton, it was everything. It was just tea left, right, and sideways. And she was dropping hints, major hints, about some of the women that he had been with. And she didn't want to say who, and one of the interviews was like, well, tell me, I'll say it. But, it was pretty clear that it was some of the women is pretty high up there that he was fooling around with. And you didn't think that this was going to hurt your career? Duh. I mean, if he had kept it in his pants, maybe he would still have a career. And not only that, maybe if he had, treated some people a little bit better and not look like a backstabber, especially where as Michael is concerned, he'd still have a career. But no go. And then there's Wade. Not Wade, James. There's James in all of this. The thing that I didn't understand about James the most was that he said once, I feel so relieved finally being able to tell this secret. But he didn't look relieved. He didn't look relieved at all. In fact, he looked anything but. It's like every time I saw this guy, he was looking more and more and more like a cracked egg. Like he was just shattered, and he just didn't. He just seemed like he shouldn't have been a part of this. He didn't want to be a part of this. But because we found out that he has had financial troubles himself, and because he had tacked on to the lawsuit that Wade had, he had to go along to get along, basically. And I guess he thought, hey, I joined this and maybe, just maybe, I'll get some money out of it. The estate will quietly settle. But, it was like, not working, not gonna do it. Because it seems like every single person who has gone after Michael's money with this pedophile bullcrap, it doesn't end well for them. It doesn't bode well for them at all. I mean, they always think, well, the first kid, he got a load of money, but look at what he had to go through to get that load of money. He had to have his family basically goaded him into lying about this guy. He knew it was wrong. He knew he didn't want to do it, but the family wanted the money. And then after they got the money, they didn't have a great life. He distanced himself from his parents. He emancipated himself. Then he stopped, once he emancipated himself, he stopped talking to his parents altogether. But then when he did try to have a little bit of connection with his father, he and his father got into an argument, and then his father tried to beat him with a barbell. I mean, who does a mess like that? And then after he said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with my dad. I'm done with my mom. I'm just done. He just took his chunk of the money and he just left. And then what happened? The father gets diagnosed with cancer. He becomes very sick. And right when it looks like he was at the end, he takes his life. And interesting enough, Evan Chandler took his life 5 months after Michael died. So that just screamed like guilt to me. The Arvizos, they didn't bode well either. They thought, okay, well, if we do this criminal investigation, something will come out of it. maybe the estate will settle. Maybe the estate will give us money. Or maybe we'll get a book deal or a movie deal or whatever. None of that came to pass. In fact, Janitor Arvizo, who she finally married her boyfriend, whose last name was Jackson, who ironically makes her legal name Janet Jackson, she was indicted for welfare fraud after that. Did anything good come out of that? When they had the criminal investigation, did Bezos get anything out of that? No. No money, no book deal, no nothing. And so now you got these two. Okay, so they're thinking, okay, well, our careers didn't go the way we wanted to. So if we sue the estate will, they have to settle. They have to settle. They have to. The state said, nah, not gonna do it. John Bronco was not giving up the cheddar. Not this time. They tried the lawsuits. They tried lawsuits individually. Didn't work. They combined. They tried lawsuit together. Didn't work. Then they thought, okay, let's make the movie. The slick guy, Dan Egghead Reed, comes along and he says, you know what? We're going to make a movie and we're just going to hear about your side. You're going to tell us what you experienced. Never mind what the other side has to say. Never mind if some of the facts aren't consistent or if the lines are blurred. You just go ahead and you just tell us your story, your narrative, and we'll put it out there. And they did. And they put it on Sundance, and then they put it on HBO, and then they all had this thought, the bigger it gets, then the estate will have to settle. And then all of a sudden, you had all these celebrities coming out of the closet with this mess. Of course, you had Oprah do the interview, and everybody thinks that what Oprah says is like God. And then Ellen DeGeneres was one of the first celebrities to tweet about this in favor of support for Wade and James after the interview with Oprah. And then you had the pop girl Saya, who I think also has vitiligo, and I think she had felt that at one time Michael Jackson was an inspiration to her, from overcoming her illness. Well, that now went out the window. So then you also had Drake dropping Michael's songs or from his song list, and you had John Legend also chiming in, and then you had Barbra Streisand of all people saying that horrible statement about how Michael's sexual status, Michael's sexual needs was fulfilled and the kids were. I'm like, who says shit like this? And then of course she had to apologize. I mean, you didn't hear about her speaking anything else about this mess. And then of course Sir Paul had to chime in, and he had to say, well, I do believe them, but I feel sorry for Michael. And you can't help but feeling, really, Paul, you're still this upset because Michael bought the Beatles catalog? Get over it, man. Really? Come on, dude. But no, he had to go there. And he was on the boat with Oprah and David Geffen while they were all looking at this mess. So you have all these celebrities chiming in. And then the one that hurt the most, Al Jean, producer of The Simpsons. He had the nerve, the unmitigated gall, to say that the episode that Michael made for The Simpsons, Stark Raving Dad, he used that episode to groom boys. No, he didn't. Why would you say some mess like that? But he put it out there, and they decided to permanently shelve Stark Raving Dad. Well, now that all this has come out, now that the train station thing has just derailed, literally. Are any of these celebrities gonna backpedal and say, oops, I'm sorry? Maybe I shouldn't have jumped on the bandwagon so quick? No, no, they're not going to. They're more than likely going to stand by what they said. I mean, don't matter now, Michael's gone. And you know if he was alive, none of this would have ever happened. None of this would have been made. None. But it's out there, and the damage is done. Even with HBO pulling it, the damage is done. But like I said, getting back to James, I think he was brought in all of this to give some sort of credibility to this bullshit story. And then it would have to make me wonder why. The truth is able to stand on its own. It doesn't need any help. It doesn't need any assistance. The truth is the truth. And just as we fans have been saying, facts don't lie, people do. And facts are the truth. If it's a fact, it's true. It's a true statement. Facts are true, period. So I think maybe he was brought in to help the story. And for some reason, it just got away from him. And it was feeling and looking and feeling more and more and more like he was like caught in a spider web. Or even worse, he was like one of the last members on the Titanic. And as the boat was, descending into the ocean, he was just going down with the ship. Sorry, I had to put a Titanic reference in here. I've always loved the Titanic story. It's so sad, so tragic, but I just felt it worked. But forgive me. But it's just he felt like he was sinking in all of this. That he was just going down and down and down and down and down and down and down. And then the whole train thing it just killed it. It killed the whole thing. But then I had to wonder, in looking at all these pictures of James, it's James and Wade, but particularly James, the pictures that he had that he had taken when he was with Michael, he just looked so happy and carefree. He did not look like a kid who had secrets. He did not look like a kid who was, struggling or in any kind of pain or anything like that. He looked like a very, very happy kid. But then when you see pictures of him older, he does look like he has changed some. Now, who knows? Maybe it's because, teens, they go through that Shirley phase. I know I did. Or maybe, just maybe, I was wondering, could it have been that maybe James Safechuck really was abused, but by someone else other than Michael? That's been sitting with me for some reason. Is it possible that someone did something to him and Michael didn't know anything about it? Or that maybe it happened like I don't know, after he stopped, having communications with Michael, which is also another thing that I've wondered about, because something else that really gets me is that all of these people have said the same thing, basically. Evan Chandler said, Michael didn't have to stop talking to me. Gavin Arvizo said on the stand, when he was asked, why are you so angry? He didn't say because he abused me. He said because he stopped talking to me. Wade Robson, he was mad because he didn't get the Cirque du Soleil job. And then, of course, James said that Michael wasn't talking with them anymore. So here's what I don't understand. If this man abused you, why do you want him to have contact with you? I have friends who have been abused, and they don't want nothing to do with their abusers. They don't want nothing to do with their families, nothing. They don't. I know a guy. We were walking down the street once. He saw his abuser off in the distance, and he walked. He and I walked 2 other blocks just not to be near this guy. Okay, so I don't understand how these people can say that this guy abused them, but they still wanted contact with them. It doesn't make sense to me. So here's what I don't get about James. Another thing that I don't get. He was in the biggest commercial ever with the biggest pop superstar ever. He was in a commercial with one of the 2 biggest sodas of the Cola Wars. He didn't see anybody else while he was with Michael. He didn't go to any other auditions. He didn't see any other casting agents, any other directors or producers or anything. He didn't see anybody else in his career when he was friends with Michael. Bull. He had to have seen somebody. He had to have. He had to have some other career than just, while he was with Michael. Is it just doing this one commercial and it just, boom, nothing else? I mean, he didn't take any acting lessons? Something doesn't seem right about this. So now, when these guys are now grown, Wade and James, and their careers did not go the way they wanted to, now they want to say, oh, well, he abused me. Well, here's what else I don't get. All the other kids who are defending Michael, they've had careers. Macaulay Culkin, Corey Feldman, Aaron Carter, Emmanuel Lewis, Alfonso Ribeiro, Soleil Moonfry. She even spoke of Michael and defending him. All of these kids who knew Michael when they were kids and he was an adult, they are all defending him and said nothing perverted happened. Nothing. He didn't touch us inappropriately. They all have their careers. Even if they don't have the big careers that they had when they were kids, you can best bet believe they still make some money somewhere in residuals. They have to. They gotta get a check somewhere. I mean, I don't know all that much about the biz, but I'm quite sure they still make some type of money when their movies and their TV shows and their commercials are get in syndication or get residuals or whatever. They got to get something. The only one who is defending him, who has no career in Hollywood, or doesn't have any career, in Hollywood, is another Australian, Brett Barnes. And that's because his mother was Michael's hairdresser, who Michael once called the Michelangelo of hairstylists. So he doesn't have a career, acting career or music career like Macaulay Culkin or Aaron Carter, but he's still defending this guy. But these 2 who don't have careers are saying, oh, he touched us. But not just him. And there's also the Casios. They have a small career, and I think in the music industry, not be the biggest thing in the world, but they have something. They're defending him. There's even a couple of families, two adults who were kids, one in Germany, I think the other in New Zealand. They're defending him. So all these people are defending him, except for these two. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. All of this is connected some kind of way. And there's even one thing that I don't understand. I'm going to go out on a lark here. I didn't want to get political, but I'm going to have to. And to my Trump supporters, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me, but this is just something that I just had a thought. I've even thought of the Trump angle. Something doesn't feel right about any of this because it's funny. President Trump has a lot to say about everything. Everything. But for some reason, this has blown big for a whole month. He hasn't said anything. Now, granted, he does have his own problems at this moment. He has his own stuff to worry about. I get that. I'll give him that. But it just seems a little odd because he always has something to say about everything. He always tweets about everything, but he had nothing to say about this. And especially since he considered himself Michael's friend because they had a few pictures taken together. Or because they went over to each other's house for dinner once or twice. Now, I don't even think they were the best of friends, but I do say they were casual acquaintances because money attracts money. So all of this just seems very, very weird. And it's all connected in a lot of strange ways. And, I may have more thoughts about this at another time. But since I've said so much, I just want to give you guys this to think about. And then if I could say something personal to James Safechuck. I don't know why I want to do this, but it's just something sitting inside of me. I can see and feel the guilt in this guy. Like I said, when he said I feel relieved by saying this and he doesn't look it, I want to hold out hope that maybe he has a little tiny bit of decency in himself. If he could just come forward and just finally say, okay, I did not tell the truth about certain things, maybe I could give him that. I don't know. But I just know I see a very guilt-ridden man every time I see him. And we fans, we can be very vicious when it comes to Michael. George Carlin, late comic, fantastic comic, George Carlin once said, I don't fuck with Michael's fans. No way. You fuck with him, you're already dead. And he's right. He was right. The only thing that I can say of James Safechuck is clear your conscience. Find some kind of way to be at peace with yourself. Don't let the slide drag you down the ground. If somebody did hurt you, somebody that is not Michael, because I got this feeling that if he was, it was somebody else. And Michael probably didn't know nothing about it. He didn't know anything about it. I mean, dude was so into himself at times with all the work that he had to do and all the traveling and the touring and stuff. A lot of stuff got by him. Maybe there were secrets that James Safechuck had that his parents couldn't pick up on. Michael didn't know anything about. And remember, Corey Feldman himself did say that the pedophile ring in Hollywood was huge when he was a kid. Is it not possible that somebody else hurt James? And maybe what he's trying to do is use the pain from that experience and tack it on to that. And maybe they felt, well, maybe we could use that